All right. Looks like we are live. Let's double check the audio. Make sure it's working. Okay. We are good. All right. Day 110. Let's stay consistent. Today, doing a little browsing in the city of Atlanta. And for those folks that are looking into new market, this is kind of just what I did. I went to Hot FMR and I simply looked at what the 4 bedroom rents looked like within this area. And I saw a couple in 3,000s, a couple 2,000s and stuff like that. So I said, all right, let me just browse around here and say my max purchase price is in Atlanta and I want to look for 4 bedrooms up to $300,000 just to browse around, right? Just so I have some starting point so that I'm not looking at a mass of 1,000 listings. And today I was just browsing in the West End area because I know it's gentrifying a lot. I don't really know Atlanta a lot. I just some anecdotal evidence that I've heard from other folks. So I figured, okay, let me just take a look and see what's going on here and pick some properties that are under 300 grand. Let's see. I picked up one property, 4 bed, 2 bath, 1321 Sharon Street Northwest. Again, the whole point of today's exercise is just to develop understanding of the market and also understand like what would a buy box even look like. I did this for Detroit a while ago and figured I'd do something for Atlanta since we have a lot of our audience members are in Atlanta, all spread out throughout the different coasts. So I figured, hey, why not just do some window shopping together? I do not like that. So just doing a street drive-by, I guess. Oh, this is already a new home. So you can kind of see what happened here, right? Google Street Drive-by. Let me kind of go back here. Google Street Drive-by here shows that there's tons of like litter or dirt or whatever. Lots of stuff on the floor here. Not the best sign, but if you go into the street, it looks like this new construction has already been completed here. That's a good sign. What about over here? Oh, I think they were doing an addition over here. That's good. It's kind of good to know that people are building it here and doing some flips. So those are good signs of progress. Like someone sees value in the neighborhood, it's going up. So, all right, let's take a quick look at this property. Get it to 50%. All right. Let's see. Let's go look at this home. It's okay. I mean, probably replace the kitchen, but the floor looks fine. I probably replace the carpet in there. This bathroom looks fine. Looks maybe remove carpet in 2 of the areas. Is that the second kitchen? Huh. What am I looking at here? Where someone was traveling 4 bed, 2 bath ranch house. I like that as a ranch house, so one single floor. 3 blocks from Marta, so that's good. Marta is the public transportation line for Atlanta. Oh, on the market for 79 days. So maybe they'll listen to a creative offer. All right, let's do this together. Let's figure out what will make this a deal. First things first is I went to tophap.com. I plugged in the street. Let me look at the crime scores. So if you go to neighborhood, that's a little high, 141. Not loving the 141 crime score is a little higher than I would like, but that's all right. Let's just keep going. I can probably ask someone locally in that area afterwards to see what's going on here. Let's get the FMR. So for this property is FMR 30314. If you go and Google HUD FMR, let me just do the process for folks that might be looking at this for the first time. You Google HUD FMR, click on access to small area FMRs, look up 2024 FMRs, click on the state, and then click on the county. This one's in Fulton County. And then you're going to see by bedroom count, by zip code, what the FMR or the fair market rents are for each zip code. 30314. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather today, but we're going to stay consistent. And you will see right here that the maximum rents for a 4 bedroom is $2,030. I'm sorry. The 3 and 8 looked a little like. So let me make sure I write down this number. 2030, 2030. What's a 3 bed? 3 bed is 1670. Okay, and this is 30314. 30314. And that was a 3-bedroom rent. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we want to get the market rent. So when you go to affordablehousing.com, go to the owner section, market rent estimator, plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count. Over here, you're going to see that for 25 units within a 0.56 mile radius, the average rent is $2,077. That's great because now I can have pretty high confidence that I can get the maximum rents at $2,030 because that's what's going to be justified as reasonable within the area. And this is a 0.56 mile radius. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because my partners know how to underwrite, so it's just easy to kind of plug in all the numbers. And so they didn't know where the research came from. 1670. Whoops. I'll try and click enter and then click the 3 button. So I got these numbers. All right. Next thing I want to do is let me estimate my rehab. So right now, this is $240,000. Let me just plug in some numbers here to be efficient with our time. But I'm going to set aside some money for painting and some money for the kitchen to be rehab for some cabinets. Cabinets are probably fine, actually. I'll probably just replace the stove to be stainless steel just so someone can be proud of living there. All right, so let me go in and plug in the address. I mean the square footage. So I always assume that there's going to be some money that's going to be spent to take a look at the roof. So that's $1,500 right there. I'm assuming I'm set aside like $500 for some landscaping to keep the place clean while I'm going through this renovation. Square footage, $1,149. I'm always going to assume I'm going to put a fresh coat of paint on the property for about $3 a square foot. LVP, I'm going to probably replace 2 of the bedrooms there. So I'm going to assume each bedroom is about 15 by 10. So it's 150 square foot per room. I saw 2 rooms of carpet. So I'm going to put in 300 square feet of LVP to replace some of the carpet that's already in there. I'm putting new range and new hood. Range hood. The bathroom looks fine, so I don't need to put anything there. I'll probably replace one of the toilets with a high pressure flush toilet, just depending on where it is. It helps me reduce a lot of like clogged toilet calls. To be honest with you, I haven't had any clogged toilets at my Airbnbs because I've had this high pressure flush toilet, so I love it. I think I'm gonna assume the water heater is working. So I'm going to assume I'm going to take that out because it looks like they probably just cleared it out. I'm going to leave $1,000 for termite issues. So that gives me about a $13,000 rehab. That seems pretty fair. It's not too far-fetched. Okay. I'm not going to divide this by 2. Just double checking my formulas. Okay. At $240,000, what is my property tax going to be? $261. I'm just going to take this number right from the Redfin website. What's my insurance? $124. So I'm going to equals to 124 times 1.2. Usually this insurance estimate is based off of you living there. So I'm going to add a 20% premium at the minimum to account for some additional insurance expenses just because it's going to be a rental property and not a primary residence property. It's a standard. Okay, cool. All right, so I got that piece. I'm going to delete that one. Right now, if I assume that this is a 25% down on this property, I'm going to assume that the interest rates right now are about 8.25% for DSCR alone. I've been underwriting 8.5, but I think they've come down a little bit. I've heard it even though it's like 8, but let me be a little conservative here, see what's happening. All right, at 2030, 25% down, 2.5% closing costs, 8.25% of interest rate. This is going to start 1/18/24. I got property manager at 10% in this area. I'm going to leave vacancy at 5% for this property. I got 10% for my maintenance on this deal. And then my loan amount is going to be $240,000 minus the $60,000. So I will be financing $180,000 at 8.25%. So this results in a negative $239.58. All right, so let's go through the scenarios, right? Because for every deal, there should be a number that makes it a deal. Negative 239. And we're gonna play with all the scenarios because I just like playing around with it because I can figure out like what the buy box needs to be. So this is assuming $240,000. You still gonna send me that? Yes. Did you send me your email? I usually have my team members send it. Pia from my team will be sending it to people. So just make sure you DM me your email again, and I'll make sure she sends it to you if she hasn't already. You would have gotten it from my assistant's email. Rehab was $13,000. This is assuming 25% down, 8.25% of interest. Okay, cool. Now, what I want to do is mess around with the scenarios to figure out what purchase price, if I assume everything else stays constant at 25% down, 8.25% interest rate, what will make this a deal? Let's just assume my goal. Normally I target 15%, but in a higher appreciating market like Atlanta, I might go settle for 10 to 12. Let me go with 12. All right. If I bought this property at 135,000, what does that equal to? Okay, 120,000, 125,000. All right, I could get about 10%. So maybe if my criteria here is 10%, I might be willing to pay, assuming I still get 20-30 for my rents, which is likely. I will cash flow $408, and that would be a 10.4% cash on cash return, assuming my purchase price is $125,000. Assuming everything else stays the same at $13,000 rehab, boom, 8.25. Okay. Now, what if my rehab was half, meaning I, for some reason, had somebody go to the property and they're like, "Oh, you way overestimated." Oh, yeah, I thought I sent it to you, but I can send it to you again. I'll double check. All right, so now we have half the rehab. What can I pay for this property if my rehab was half? 135, 132. All right, cool. So now if my rehab is half, I can pay up offer to $132,000. Now, all this is doing, right, guys, is just showing me what scenarios will make this a deal, quote unquote. I'll still make 369, and this is now a 10.4% cash and cash return still. Okay. Now, what are the other areas that I can potentially turn this into a deal? What if I turn this into a creative finance deal? Because they've been on the market for a while. Let's see where there's an underlying loan in place for this deal. 1321. If you go to PropStream and go in this area, it says mortgage transaction history. You can usually tell whether someone owns this property free and clear. I can see that this property was purchased for cash, free and clear. So maybe this person would be willing to sell or finance it to me, okay? Because it is empty right now and they're not doing anything with it. So they might be a tired landlord. Who knows? Okay. Well, if I turn this property into let's say it's a 15% down payment, right? Let's do that. Yeah, 15% down. And let's say the owner wants to hold steadfast to the $240,000 number that they wanted for while it was listed. What does that allow me to offer in terms of the seller finance piece? Well, if the seller owns it free and clear, then maybe I can give them a 15% down, but then they give me 1.5. There you go. This would be a deal still for me, assuming the rent's 2030. I would cash flow $409 a month, and this would be a 10.1% cash on cash return. I'm still paying $240,000 for this property, but assuming my rehab $6,500 at 15% down, this would still be a deal for me if the seller financed it to me at 1.5% interest rate. Okay. Going through the scenarios. That's it. That's all we're doing for the sake of the exercise. There's a set of terms that make it work. All right. Well, what if my rehab wasn't half? If it wasn't half and my rehab is truly $13,000, how to send somebody out there? Well, the only way this is a deal is that I can still get 15% down, but now my maximum interest rate is 1% instead of 1.5% because my rehab estimate went up by so much. That makes sense, everybody? This is how you slowly change one attribute of the deal as you learn more about the deal. So you can figure out what can you offer in terms of terms that still allows you to turn this into a deal, quote unquote. Okay. Let's keep on going. What if the seller wants a bigger down payment? All right. Well, if I turn this into a 20% down payment, that knocks my cash and cash lower to 8.9, right? So I would have to adjust my interest rate on a seller finance note downward. So now I say, well, if the seller all of a sudden says, no, I want a bigger down payment. Okay, Mr. Seller, I can give you a bigger down payment, but now I can only give you principal only payments or 0% interest payments for this property. Because in that scenario, I'm still able to achieve my cash on cash return criteria of 10.4%, 579. So at 2030, I'm still cash flowing $579, even though my cash outlay is higher with a 20% down. It's still a deal for me, 10.4% cash on cash return. And this is assuming it's a principal only payments, 0% interest. Hopefully that makes sense, right, everybody? And this is just how you play around with numbers to figure out what it is. Well, what if your criteria was 15% and you're really trying to achieve 15% return? Well, now all of a sudden, maybe you have to do 0.25% down, 0.5. Let's see, 1% down. No, 5% down. Yeah, 7.5. But if I'm basically messing with the numbers to see if they can give me principal only payments, what can I offer to still get 15% cash and cash return? Because what if you have higher demands, right? 5.5? No, 8.5? 10? 9.5. Okay. 9% now. Boom. All right. So if I want to get 15% cash on cash return, assuming our rent's still constant at 2030, I can get 506 cash flow a month. That's 15% cash on cash return, $240,000. Whoops. $13,000 rehab. And now I'm at 9% down. And I'm still a principal only payment. So will a seller go for that? I don't know. But this is where you have to be to meet your criteria for where it is. Again, this is not investment advice. This is not solicitation for any investments. I'm simply showing you how do you play around with the scenarios that makes it a deal that fits your criteria. Because your criteria might be 12%. Some people's criteria might be, as long as I'm breaking even on the cash flow and I know I'm in a high appreciating market, well, they're going to be like, okay, cool. As long as it breaks even after I account into my expenses, right? You still have to have maintenance. You still have to have property management and vacancy expenses in there. That's how you figure out whether or not it's a deal. And these are all the scenarios that we went through today that we thought might be a deal or would make this a deal in our scenario. Hopefully this makes sense. 15% in this market, a deal. Hey, are you investing in Atlanta? That would be good to know. Look at land value. What was that? What was that? 618. What's their land value, market land value, 30,000, assessed value, 12,000. Yeah, but this is probably before it went up because they're trying to sell it for a lot higher than market value, at least according to PropStream. But well, this is all the scenarios that we went through today, and hopefully this was helpful for everybody whenever you're looking at a market deal for these properties, right? If they've been on the market for a while, they might be a little bit more willing to listen to a creative finance offer. No guarantees. But for me, I don't really love how high the crime score is. And it's so far off from being a deal currently at the market price. But 141 crime score is a little high. So if you live in Atlanta or you know anyone that lives in Atlanta that knows these neighborhoods, man, give me a shout, DM me. Let me know what other areas of Atlanta would be good. I'm really looking for sub $250,000 homes because I really don't see a way to cash flow unless you probably go up to 300 grand, but it must be in a nicer area, I'm guessing. But hey, if anybody lives in Atlanta, DM me, tell me an area to underwrite and pick some on market properties, and we can look at this market together and just get better. I don't claim to be an expert, and I'm definitely not an Atlanta market expert, but I want to show you all how I essentially look at a new market and how I at least start my analysis. Is you just got to get started, because every single day you analyze one deal, you get a little bit smarter about the market, and you start developing your buy box. Because now all of a sudden, what do we just do for this deal in Atlanta? I just learned through myself. Hey, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom property that's about sub 150 grand. And I know if my rehab stays under $13,000, then I can probably achieve a 10% cash on cash return. So that becomes your buy box, right? That's how you develop a buy box for every single market. That's very specific. So not only are you underwriting, getting into practice every day, but then on top of that, you're also developing your buy box. So now you can communicate your buy box to local realtors, local wholesalers, whoever and whatever your network might be. Because when you build up this practice and this habit, then all of a sudden you start getting better and better at finding the deals or noticing what might be a deal. And now all of a sudden, boom, now you can catch up and figure out that something's a deal, and you don't feel burnt out anymore, because over time you develop these reps, and all of a sudden you don't waste your time looking at deals that are not deals anymore. Right? If I saw a turnkey property for $240,000 require no rehab in this zip code in this neighborhood again, I'm not even going to underwrite it, because I probably know it's not going to be worth my time, especially if it's just been listed on the market. But if it's been listed, if it's been listed for, let's say, 90 days, I could be like, okay, well, maybe I could take a look at it and offer a creative deal, because I can offer up to $240,000 as long as my down payment is less than 20%. As long as the seller is willing to seller finance it to me at principal only payments. So you develop this buy box, and all of a sudden you feel less burnt out, because you're not analyzing every single deal in the world. And eventually you get to a deal. So this is the implied work of real estate investing. This is the uncool, non-sexy part about real estate. In order for you to buy 100 deals, you probably got to analyze 1,000 deals. And this is just part of the work. So I really hope and encourage all of you to, just look at the same deal I looked at today. DM me on Instagram for a copy of the spreadsheet. I am very blessed and fortunate to have been given these spreadsheets from other folks. I just combined them into my own version and update it so that it fits what I need. So DM me on Instagram at InvestWithKenny if you want to copy the spreadsheet. But all you have to do, look at the same deal using the same spreadsheet and put it on your own YouTube channel. And now all of a sudden, you're going to have a track history of analyzing a deal every single day. And if you do it for 18 minutes a day for 365 days a year, you will be better underwriting than at least 95% of America. And if you have an excuse of saying, I don't have money, this is a rich person's game only, you have to make yourself attractive for other people that want to invest with you. Again, I'm not soliciting any investments, but for you, when a partner goes to you and asks you, why do you think this is a deal? You can now point them to your own YouTube channel and show them how many deals you've analyzed and show how consistent you have been. Because why would they invest with you? Well, you're consistent. You do what you said you were going to do. They know, like, and trust you. And you know what you're talking about. So I really hope you take what I did today, pick one sentence from how I explain something and explain it better. And that's how you get 1% better every single day. Again, thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, everybody. Without people like you, I would never had the home I grew up in. So thank you so much. I'm sick today, but hey, I still got on here. I still stay consistent, because this is what happens when you create a habit. When you create a habit, it feels weird when you don't go live analyzing a deal. I'll be honest, I deleted social media during COVID. I deleted it, but I knew if I wanted to make an impact, I had to come back on. And over time, you get the reps in, you get the practice in, and you feel more and more comfortable with it. I promise you. So even if you're shy, just do a screen share. Don't put your face on the YouTube channel. Just upload it. You can even leave it as unlisted on your own YouTube channel. So no one will ever have to know about it unless you actually are showing your YouTube channel to somebody that is intentional and you want them to see it. Don't be shy. Just start stacking the work now, and I promise you, it'll pay dividends in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now. I don't know when that day might come. There's no promises, but that day will definitely come. You put in the work and you stay consistent. All right. Have an amazing Thursday, everybody. I will be back here again tomorrow. And if you guys know anything else about Atlanta or which areas or neighborhoods you want me to invest in, underwrite in, DM me. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you all again tomorrow.